Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Khalid. Today is the 30th of July 2024 and these are the stories that we will be deciphering during the course of our show. We'll begin with religious extremism in Pakistan and the need of taking action through the National Action Plan. You all remember what happened in 2014 December, and then a first draft of National Action Plan was taken out with the consensus of all the stakeholders. That was 20-point action plan. In 2021, the same National Action Plan was amended with consensus of all the stakeholders again. Now there are certain points in it that also pertain to religious extremism and how to deal with those. How should the country move forward under the current circumstances where political religious parties are trying to use the religion card to create disharmony in the country and level baseless allegations on important figures in the country. This is going to be our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns day 298 of the Israel-Palestine conflict, and a lot has happened. A lot is happening every single day as every single day passes. The latest is Israel's alleged plan to attack Lebanon after what it alleges is the attack that happened on Israel from the Lebanon side. Israel blames the Lebanese armed group for firing a projectile that hit the football pitch and killed 12 children, but of course Lebanon denies it. There are different countries that are also in the arena in order to dissipate the situation and kind of create some kind of a level playing field for talks between the two sides. Let's see how that goes. But as far as Palestine is concerned, the number of casualties keeps on increasing. The Israeli army has come out of Khan Yunis, but they have left a devastated area behind. This and more will be discussed in our second story. Then we are going to discuss the International Day Against Human Trafficking that is being observed all across the world, including in Pakistan today. The theme this year is Leave No Child Behind in the fight against human trafficking. The role of children in human trafficking is paramount in all important countries of the world, and that is what all the stakeholders involved need to come together with a consensus in order to stop this once and for all. Finally, world's forests have failed to curb 2023 climate emissions. This is a study that has recently come out that says that forests and other land ecosystems have failed to curb climate change last year, that is 2023, as intense drought in the American rainforest and record wildfires in Canada have hampered their natural ability to absorb carbon dioxide, and of course as a result we see all the effects that climate change has had on the world. This is going to be our last story. Our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns religious extremism in different countries, including in Pakistan, but we will of course be talking about Pakistan and what needs to be done under the National Action Plan, how the different stakeholders need to have a mutual consensus on the issue. We've been joined by two guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. In the studio, we've been joined by Barrister Safi Ghauri, who joins us after a very long hiatus. He's a legal and political expert. Thank you very much, Safi, to have joined us. And online, we've been joined by Brigadier retired Rashid Wali Janjua Saab. He's a senior analyst. Brigadier Saab, pleasure to have you in our show. Let's begin with you, Safi. Safi, Pir Zahirullah Hassan Shah, who is the Vice Emir of Tehreek-e-Labbaik, Pakistan, has been booked in a terrorism case. Two people are in custody. 1,500 people have been booked after the government, swung into action against members of the TLP for inciting violence against the Chief Justice of Pakistan. TLP Chief Saad Rizvi was in attendance in a function where there were certain remarks that were given, insightful remarks that were given against the Chief Justice of Pakistan. What is the background of all of these hate speeches by the TLP?
Right. So the background of this is quite interesting, and it goes back to this case. It's called the Sani Mubarak case. This is a Supreme Court case. It was taken very negatively by the TLP. The TLP and many other religious institutions thought that this was an affront and this was an attack on Islam. And whereas the Supreme Court had clarified, the Supreme Court then gave, and very rarely does this happen, the Supreme Court then gave a clarification explaining that we believe in the finality of the Prophet, we believe in Islam, we believe in all tenets of Islam. So then the Punjab Assembly decided to file for a review. in the review, once again, the Supreme Court reiterated the entire statement, saying that no, we stand by what the tenets of Islam are, we stand by the finality of the Prophet, we stand by everything, and we stand by our statement that Islam is a religion that is meant to be for the welfare of all humanity, and it is not meant to be a source of prosecution for people. And in this particular case, he had been prosecuted, he had served his sentence, so there was no reason to put him back in jail.
Okay.
Once again, the bail was of course upheld. He was allowed to be free. Once again, mass protests. Once again, the Supreme Court had to issue a second clarification on the review, and now 2 days ago, the Supreme Court has issued a third clarification. This is unprecedented in Pakistan. I have never seen a case, a single case in which the Supreme Court has consistently issued clarification after clarification, trying to explain to the people that we are following the tenets of Islam. And it is important to clarify that during this review petition, the Supreme Court sought the opinion of the Islamic Ideology Council and 11 other Islamic institutions. There is just one political party that is unhappy with this decision, that is a TLP, and they continue to maybe not even read what the Supreme Court is saying. Maybe they're not maybe it's a form of keeping themselves politically relevant. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, despite the Supreme Court consistently reiterating that they stand by the Quran, they stand by Islam as it is, this has become a major issue for one political party, and they continue to incite violence. I honestly don't know how the Supreme Court could possibly do anything more than what they're doing to try and convince them that they are on with the Pakistani constitution, with the Pakistani law, and with the Quran and the Sunnah.
All right. Brigadier Rashid Wali Janjua Saab, coming to you, why do religio-political parties such as the TLP incite violence? This is not the first incident where such remarks have been uttered by one of the leaders of TLP. Why this methodology?
You see, it looks like a Spanish Inquisition come alive in the shape of TLP. It's a consequence of continual appeasement and mollycoddling of these extremists by the state, and this pusillanimity of state has now come to haunt us. Few days ago, the same party was sitting on Faizabad, blocking a major highway, Islamabad Expressway. The life had come to a standstill for people who used to go daily, commute to work, and probably state thought that discretion is the better part of valor, so they kept speaking to them, and ultimately they were forced to go back. But had the state intervened and acted strongly, and some arrests were made, then the message would have been sent that state is serious. Here I don't think so. State is serious to take the bull by the horns. This Frankenstein's monster, which was probably created because of expedient reasons, has now come to haunt the state of Pakistan. Now, can you believe it that a party who believes in politics also is apostatizing the highest judicial office of the state with impunity, and they are getting away with that because arrests have been made. So until and unless there is a courage shown by the state and all the stakeholders and all the institutions and all the political parties, they are united regardless of the political cleavages, that this extremism is something that we need to deal with both at sociological, administrative, judicial and interpretational level. So these 4 levels are essential. You have to take out the extremism by giving the right interpretation and taking the mosques and madrasas away from these so-called clerics who don't have much of the knowledge of religion, and then administratively our civil administration, our policing should be very strong to take action as soon as a breach of law takes place. At the justice level, quick dispensation without fear or favor would put the fear of God in their hearts. And then the interpretational level, I think the Council of Islamic Ideology has made it very clear that this is a totally wrong interpretation of religion, and you just cannot kill anyone because you differ with his interpretation of the religion. So, societal, administrative, justice, interpretational level, the correct interpretation of the religion should be done. And there have been instruments like Paigam-e-Pakistan, and there have been instruments like various edicts by some moderate ulama.
All right. Point taken. Barrister Safi, there are certain cases now that have been put in Lahore. The Kila Gujar Singh police has registered a case against the TLP Amir and 1500 TLP leaders under section 6 terrorism, 7 punishment for act of terrorism, 11 W printing, publishing or disseminating material to incite hatred, and of course other anti-terrorism acts 1997, also invoking section 3371 and 3371-596, 116, 166, which is disobedience to order duly promulgated by public servant, 5052 statements conducive to public mischief, 148, 290 public nuisance, 291 continuance to nuisance under injunction to discontinue of the Pakistan Penal Code. Then in Okada also division police has registered again another case against section 7 of the Anti-Terrorism Act and 9 other heinous offences charges on around 90 TLP leaders and workers. Is law, in your point of view, I mean, these are just some of the injunctions, is law taking its due course in your point of view?
100%. And we can see that already TLP has gone on a back foot. One of the reasons why I say that TLP has gone on a back foot is because TLP is not owning any of these statements. TLP could have come out and said, yes, we stand behind these statements. Instead, the statements that have come out from the highest levels of leadership of TLP now, even though it was their vice president who said a lot of these incendiary things, TLP is now saying that these were said in a private gathering. It was not a TLP jalsa. They are now saying that this was her personal opinion. This does not reflect TLP's perspective, because it's not just the kind of consequences that an individual would suffer. These would lead to TLP becoming a proscribed organization, as we have seen time and again with many other political parties that become proscribed when they talk about, when they try to spread violence, when they try to incite hatefulness amongst different communities. And under the National Action Plan, there have been various movements that have been made to try and prohibit all of these. In the last 10 years, we have seen that the government has taken a very strong stance. So 100% I believe that the fact that TLP is no longer questioning at least what these statements are, that official TLP lawyers are not representing them, but they are going and getting their private lawyers, are all indications to show that the matter has simmered down to a degree that TLP has, hopefully, at least I can only hope that TLP would go on a back foot. And another important thing that I want to point out here is that it's not just the state that has taken an active action against them. It is all other religious scholars as well who have condemned this, who have stated that they will not stand behind any of this. The Islamic Ideology Council has been very vocal. Apart from that, various other, all the different religious leaders of sects have come out and said that they will never stand behind this. So I don't think TLP has an option. If they were to try and fight and say that no, we were still right, that this was something that we stand by, they would end up becoming a banned organization for sure. So under any circumstance, the law has taken its course. I'm very happy that Pakistan has in fact shown considerable guts. But as Brigadier Sahab was saying, now the battle really starts now, because we now have to see what the judges do. I personally feel, this is just my opinion, and this comes as a non-lawyer, this comes as just a political analyst who has been a student of Pakistan's history. I feel that these leaders will get off with maybe light sentences, or due to technicalities or something of the sort, but this will happen after negotiation with TLP by ensuring, and these were of course going to be hidden negotiations, after ensuring that TLP would never ever go down that route again.
All right.
Otherwise, they will always
But
continue to
Safi,
dangle
that
chairs.
only time will tell whether that happens or not. That's
Of
your
course.
opinion anyways. Brigadier Saab, I'd like to understand, we were talking about the government's role and the government's fit. Now, there has been a press meet or a joint press conference that was made by Defence Minister Khaja Asif Saab and Prime Minister Ehsan Iqbal Saab, who of course condemned these remarks by the TLP and also talked about elements with vested political interests in their point of view that was spreading blood and violence in the name of religion. Who are these elements with vested interests and what are these vested interests?
You see, the government functionaries, they have made the right noises and all the right politically correct statements have been made, but let's see whether they walk the talk. The taste of the pudding is in the eating. How you actually frame the charges, how you package the evidence, how you punish them, how resolute you are in the face of religious blackmail to continue, because this mawkish approach has been our undoing in the past, and I don't blame any one government. It has been the case with all the governments. I don't know why do they come to power if they don't have the enough gumption to take these extremists to task. Vested interests, yes, vested interest is a lot. It's amongst the religious clerical establishment which are living off the rents of religious extremism, and there are certain political parties who take a vicarious pleasure out of the discomfiture of the government, that okay, let them be rubbed off rather roughly by a religious entity which is violent, which has emotive appeal, and we'll watch from the sidelines. That's a very short-sighted approach. For example, if there are political differences now, the opposition, which feels aggrieved for a host of reasons, on this issue they should have made a common cause with the government, because this is something that affects all across the board. But I think now time has come that this genie has to be put back in the bottles, and we have examples. We have examples of rather moderate countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Turkey, where you can't even issue a fatwa on a Friday sermon. You cannot give without the government's vetting and oversight. So our mosque and madrasa has to be wrested away from these ignorant and hate-peddling entities, and politics and religion, they need to be separated. The political parties who use the religion and the religious card, they should be clearly told that religion will not be used, rather sectarianism would not be used to ratchet up the tensions.
So basically it's politics that has entered a lot of arenas, including unfortunately this one as well. Thank you very much, Brigadier Rashid Wali Janjua Saab, to have joined us and to have discussed this issue with us. Coming back to you, Safi, what does our constitution say as far as this incident regarding the heinous accusation on the Chief Justice of Pakistan is concerned? We've had, you talked about Paigam-e-Pakistan. Of course, it's a very strong document that has been revered by all the ulama and all the different factions that are present in Pakistan. And what does the National Action Plan also say about such incidents and how to counter them?
Right. So let's look at our seminal document, the Constitution, Chapter 1, Fundamental Rights. The Constitution of Pakistan guarantees for every citizen, let alone the Chief Justice of Pakistan, for every citizen across the board, an equal protection of their life, of their property, and of their dignity. So let alone a life threat, they could not even make fun of the Chief Justice. This is what the Constitution of Pakistan is saying. It protects you, and it is different. It is important to understand that the Constitution of Pakistan is a little different from all other constitutions, because other constitutions talk about life and property. The Pakistani Constitution put in a separate word, dignity. And why did Pakistani Constitution put in the word dignity? It's very important to understand that. It comes from the last sermon of the Prophet, because on the last sermon of the Prophet ﷺ said that, for a Muslim, all your property, all your cattle and your dignity will be safe in a Muslim state. And so that is why when Pakistan tries to emulate, they add an extra element just like the Prophet did. Now it's surprising that despite the fact that we have so many religious teachings that tell us what a heinous crime murder is, we have a clear constitution that says this, we still have these unfortunate problems that are still taking place in Pakistan. So on that end, of course, the National Action Plan was prepared after the 2014 incidents, when it was when people realized that you need to do something. And the National Action Plan is, in my opinion, comprehensive. It's a 20-point program,
and now 14 points.
Yeah, 14 points, and many aspects of the National Action Plan then goes on to cover various aspects about choking financing that comes in towards these kind of institutions that spread violence and hatred, about just generally stopping any misinformation, any violence and hate speech that comes from them. It speaks about how all of these radicalizations, these divisions and polarizations within society are the root cause of the kind of terrorism that we are facing. And so Pakistan has definitely come a long way. I think the Pakistani law is addressing these well. Now, as we are well aware, recently the Chief of Army Staff also spoke about digital terrorism, because these things are being spread online. It's not just the fact that they are being said out in jalsas anymore. There are various methods in which they are being used, and the state is tackling them head on. The state is now trying to test its own national firewall so that they can try and stop the spread of hate speech. Efforts are being made, but I think they're going to take time. We can only hope that these get implemented tomorrow, but the reality is Pakistan is a developing country. We have teething errors. We are new to many things, and this is especially one issue that I think nobody in the world has been able to deal with particularly well. If you look at polarization, even when you look at the USA, even when you look at what's happening in Russia and many other countries, France, we saw recent writings over major issues. So I feel like this is one of those new world problems that all governments around the world are facing. Pakistan is perhaps a little bit more experienced than others are. So I can only hope that Pakistan will continue to play its role and try and curb terrorism and radicalization as well as it can.
All right, thank you so very much, Barrister Safi Ghauri, to have joined us, to have talked to us about this very important teething issue. And as per the National Action Plan, of course, I was just going through the 20 measures as well, and even in the 14 measures that it talks about, it does highlight the important things as far as such crimes are concerned, and such hate speech or extremist material is concerned, and how to counter with that properly. So of course, the next few days are important as to see how all of this plays out. Thank you very much again, Safi, to have joined us. Let's come to our second story, and that concerns the Israel-Palestine war that has entered its 298th day now, and almost 300 days yet the barbarism and all the terrorism continues, despite the fact that there is some light in the way at the end of the tunnel, you might call that, in the form of the ceasefire agreement that could or could not be implemented in the coming days. And what it could also lead to is another question altogether, whether even if this is implemented, what will the Israeli side do? How will it move forward? How will it take care of things? Also, the thing is that there are other things as well regarding exactly what is happening. Israel is preparing a huge major attack on Lebanon after the Israeli occupied Golan Heights attack, but it is aiming to avoid an all-out war with Hezbollah, as far as different analysts are concerned, is being prepared. Now, Israel blames the Lebanese group for firing a projectile on Saturday that hit a football pitch and killed 12 children, whereas the other side says that it is not involved in it. Well, the US is leading a diplomatic dash to deter Israel from striking Beirut or major civil infrastructure in response to this attack, and of course there are different other countries that are getting together as well in order to dissipate the tensions that have heightened because of this. Palestinians, on the other hand, are facing the same wrath of Israel as they have been since the last 298 days. They are fleeing now the Brig and Hussain refugee camps in the central Gaza Strip, as the Israeli army has issued new evacuation orders. They have now finally said that they have ended what happened in Khan Yunis, but the fact is that despite all of that, when the Palestinians have returned to their domiciles in Khan Yunis, it's all but disaster that awaits them. We've been joined by Shahid Masroor Kiani Sahib. He's a former ambassador and joins us online. Thank you very much, Kiani Sahib, to have joined us. Kiani Sahib.
I'm honored.
All right. Yes, you are. Israel is gearing up, Shahid Sahib, to launch a major attack on Lebanon after this strike in the Golan Heights. But it says it is unlikely to want to trigger an all-out war with Hezbollah. What does the attack in the Golan Heights, in your point of view, mean for a possible escalation between Hezbollah and Israel? What options do both the sides have in your point of view?
The thing is that Israel, is now fighting wars on all fronts. It has not ended the one which is in Gaza, for which I think everybody knows why it is. Can you imagine that he goes to the US Houses of Congress in a joint session? He says that I should be given, more weapons so that I can end the war. Can there be a more laughing matter than that? Meaning the weapons which you have, we give you more so that you kill more. How can the war end like that? Now the attention is being diverted towards Golan Heights again. So this is something which has been provoked. I have no proof, but provoked by Israel himself to attack Golan Heights, to attack the Hezbollah. Now nobody is justifying, but Hezbollah, the Houthis and others who have now reached a stage where they think that the other countries are absolutely quiet. The US, unfortunately, in an election year, the sympathies, whatever you may talk, are with Israel. The Jewish community living in Israel, in US, are supporting them. So what is happening at this time is, take the war towards Lebanon, then take the war towards Gaza, or issue statements against Iran. All these are to divert attention from one of the most terrifying wars which we have seen in modern history, and there is no end to it. You have just counted the days, 300 something, and still counting. As they say, there is a ceasefire. Ceasefire what? Where? When these people, the Arabs who have been displaced from their houses, they're still counting the people who have died. They have no place to live.
All right. Shahid Sahib, we now revert to our guests in the studios, and then of course we'll come back to you. We've been joined by Dr. Munawar Hussain, foreign affairs expert. Thank you very much, Dr. Sahib, to have joined us. Dr. Sahib, the US is leading some kind of a diplomatic effort to deter Israel from striking Beirut or major civil infrastructure. There are other countries that are involved in these efforts as well. Will these international efforts succeed, or do you feel, as we've seen with Palestine, Israel will also move forward with Lebanon?
Thank you very much for having me in your show. I would say yes, and I would say no. When I say yes, it means that United States of America has a profound influence on Israel, and America can stop this war, because the major source of weapon and diplomatic support which Israel gets is from United States of America and the Western countries, in fact. When I say no, it is all because of Israeli intentions, because they want to escalate this war, because their strategy is escalation domination. And they believe that escalation domination is the only way through which they can get rid of the concept of an apartheid state. And this is the only way through which they can do this ethnic cleansing, a historical method through which they captured the most of the Palestinian state. So therefore, I would say that Americans they do this, but Israelis, they don't want to do this, and there is a consensus in Israel. They don't have sensitivity regarding the Palestinian civilians' death. And this is the reason that we observe from the beginning of the war that the Israelis, they were killing the innocent Palestinian civilian, the children, the women, the old people. And we also have an example in the past that they carried out this ethnic cleansing the only way that they consider in 1948, in 1967 war, and they conducted this ethnic cleansing in the context of war. Before October 7, they could not do this. In the back of their mind, they might have this plan, but they could not justify this. But after the war, they have justification, and therefore they would not left this opportunity to push Palestinian out of Gaza Strip. And even they might conduct this ethnic cleansing in the West Bank in future too.
All right. All right. Shahid Saab, the international reaction, as far as this Golan Heights incident is concerned, there have been, and of course the heightened tensions, whether it be with the Hezbollah or with Houthis, has come from different quarters, whether it be from Iran or whether it be from other countries in the West as well. And then there have been statements that have been criticized, like the statement of Kamala Harris, Australian Foreign Minister Perry Wong, that described Majd al-Shams in the Golan Heights as an Israeli town, whereas in fact the reality is otherwise. Britain's Foreign Secretary David Lammy has also welcomed the Lebanese government's call for a cessation of all violence after this attack on the Israeli occupied Golan Heights was blamed on Lebanon's Hezbollah. When we talk of diplomacy, there are different aspects that are linked to it. The resolve, the push by it. If we look at the West exclusively, the main backers of Israel, do you feel that the West, and I'm just relegating myself to the West, do you feel the West that Israel has been looking towards in all such incidents for help, for aid, like you talked about the joint address of the Congress? Do you feel this time the West, those countries that have backed Israel as far as Palestine is concerned, will no longer back them when it comes to escalating the war and extending the war to other regions, or do you feel they will still be on Israel's side?
You look at what's happening now. The United States, United States foreign policy towards China, Russia, and Israel and others. Since the Clinton administration, there is successive, the same policies being followed, little ups and downs, and that is clarity is containing China through India, containing Russia, pushing Russia. Russia, is not Soviet Union, so keeping that Russia back. The Ukraine war is one of the wars in which, the Americans are on one page, the Western countries, that Ukraine is to be helped, even though, believe it or not, there are hardly now any population left in Ukraine. They've just migrated to other neighboring countries, a small country. The blunder was committed, I know you understand what, but at this time, their focus is like on Ukraine on one side, more focus on Ukraine, lesser focus on Gaza. Why are people, the reaction in the Arab world, people are talking about, Golan Heights and others. This is the bane of the problem, remains the Palestinians. And at this time when I'm talking about is Gaza. Because of the reaction, these Hezbollah and others are sick and tired. Nobody justifying what Hezbollah is doing. But when they see the other countries totally quiet, totally silent, and the killing of their brethren are going on, that is why these people are and they see no peaceful solution. Look at the UN resolutions. Look at Pakistan's stand in the UN, in the United Nations. Nothing has happened because United States, the biggest supporter, and other Western countries are reluctant to stop Israel from waging this war in Gaza. Can you imagine? And the Israeli Prime Minister was the guest at the house of the presidential contender, Mr. Trump. And what does the body language show? They are with them. I tell you very frankly, we are talking about Vice President Harris, giving some statement, this and that, some sympathy with Palestinians. I tell you, this is all drama. At the end of the day, no presidential candidate can afford to speak against Israel. And one thing more, now the Israelis are pandering towards the anti-Muslim sentiment in US. When Trump has said that he will stop the Muslims from coming, and they were showing people talking to them, they say no Muslims should come to United States. So this is something which these people, the Israelis, take advantage of, because most of the Palestinians are Muslims.
All right.
So we are now.
All right. I'll come back to you, but I have to also revert to my guest, Dr. Saab. One thing that we have also seen as a result of the Israel-Palestine conflict is an increase in Islamophobia. Now there has been a report by the Council on American Islamic Relations that has highlighted the attacks against Muslims and Palestinians that has risen by about 70% in the US in the first half of 2024 because of this Islamophobia. Anti-Palestinian bias, anti-Semitism has also increased since this October war began between Israel and Palestine. Most of the complaints were in the categories of immigration and asylum, employment, discrimination, education, discrimination and hate crimes. In 2023 also, after the 7th of October, 8,061 such complaints had happened because which were related to Islamophobia, which were related to hate speeches or hate comments against the Muslims. What do you foresee in the West? If the Council on American Islamic Relations can just talk about the US and how Islamophobia has risen and how such anti-Muslims and anti-Palestinian sentiment has risen, don't you feel the same is the case with other Western countries?
Look, this is not a new phenomena in the West, especially in the United States of America. We observe this phenomena again and again. For instance, after 9/11, we observed the same phenomena. And after October 7, we are observing the same in the United States of America. What is the reason behind it? There are many reasons. One reason is the increasing population of the Muslim youth in the West, on which Western governments, they are very sensitive. And this is what the slogan, anti-Muslim slogan, which is carried out by the right-wing politics in the West. Second, the narrative which is constructed by the Israelis that Palestinians are not humans, they are like animals and they deserve what they are getting in because of the activity or the operation that was conducted by Hamas. So these are the reasons. And because of the fear that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the West, even in the United States of America, though American society is known as a melting bowl where accommodation level is very high, but even then Islamophobia, this is the phenomena which is increasing day by day in America because 2 Muslims per day are becoming Muslims in America. So it is not only because of the Palestinian crisis, it has aggravated it. But actually this phenomena existing in the American and Western society even before October 7. So how this can be curtailed? Again, there is a need to create a sense of international society. Why we are observing the continuous war in Gaza and the killing of innocent civilians? Because sense of international society is disappeared. And the concept, the realist concept of self-help and the national interest has gained the currency. And this is the reason that nations, they are not putting the powerful effort to stop this war. They are conducting, diplomacy. They are active in the United Nations General Assembly and Security Council. They met with the major powers like China, United States of America and other Western countries, even Russia. But they could stop this war by pressurizing Israel to not do this, because power can be contained through power. Diamond can be cut through diamond, not only through the diplomatic efforts.
All right, point taken. Coming to you, Ambassador Shahid Saab, when you look at the casualties that are happening in Palestine, and of course the latest figures are 39,363 and 90,900 plus people have been injured. When you look at everything that has happened, the complete destruction of infrastructure, people that are being told to flee from one place to the other, pushed from one place to the other, they don't know what will happen. The complete lack of infrastructure, the lack of basic facilities of health, food, water. What will be the tipping point in your point of view after which there will be a very strong reaction and all of this war might at least pause, if not stop?
I tell you, I see no end to it. The only 3 major countries who are raising their voice, Muslim countries, are Turkey, Pakistan and Malaysia. They're raising their voice to whatever extent they can do, assisting them, food and water and whatever it is. But this is not going to work. As far as the killing is concerned, the one now is forgetting how many people have died and how many people are dying every day. People are saying, send them assistance. Assistance to whom? Most of them have died. There are no places for them to live. Where would they eat food?
All right. All right, Shahid Sahab, we are a bit short of time, or else we would have continued. Thank you very much to have joined us. Last small question, I want just one phrase answer. Human Rights Watch accuses Israeli forces of publishing degrading photographs and videos of detained Palestinians, including children, which acts that amount to war crimes. We've got the ICC, we've got the ICJ that have taken out, declarations on that as well. Do these dent these Israeli efforts to try to destroy Palestine? One word or one phrase answer.
Israel doesn't care of it, and I agree with the Ambassador Saab that this war would not end soon. It is all because of Israeli intention. It is all because of the failure of international bodies to implement their resolutions and verdicts, and it is all because of the backup of the West and the United States of America and India, and it is all because of the internal politics of Israel, which is going through a turmoil where there was a civil war even before the October 7 on the question of cutting down the powers of the judiciary. And now there is a huge demand in Israel that how this failure was committed of the October 7 and then how this war can be ended, what is the political plan. So I don't see that such reports and
will end there, because this is going to continue. Thank you very much, Dr. Munawar. Hussain, I'm really sorry we would have continued. We are very, very short of time, but thank you very much to have joined us. Last two stories very quickly. The World Day Against Trafficking in Persons is being observed today. This year's theme is Leave No Child Behind in the fight against human trafficking, because according to the global report on trafficking in persons by the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, children are twice as likely as adults to face violence during trafficking. Finally, the world's forests have failed to curb 2023 climate emissions. This has been said in a recent study, and of course they refer here to what is happening as far as wildfires in Canada is concerned. And of course the fact is that the increase in carbon dioxide is what is causing all the effects of climate change. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us, you in Pakistan. Take care of yourselves. Allah Hafiz.